Welcome! So if you're a developer building on Midnight, you already know things move incredibly fast. And today, we're going to tackle a really crucial update: how to get your decentralized application, your DApp, from the old testnet over to the brand new pre-production environment.
Okay, so let's just dive right in. You've probably noticed that your old testnet app, well, it just isn't working anymore. Now don't worry, it's not a bug in your code. It's simply because the new feature-packed pre-prod environment is now live and the old testnet is a thing of the past.
So yeah, it's time to migrate. Think of this explainer as your personal step-by-step guide to get your project updated, reconfigured, and running perfectly on pre-prod. Let's do this.
We've broken this whole thing down into 5 easy-to-follow sections. First, we'll update your tools. Then, we'll configure your environment. After that, we dive into the actual code migration, talk about the new dust concept, and finally, run through some last-minute checks before you deploy.
First things first, before you even think about touching a line of code, the absolute #1 step is making sure your entire development toolkit is on the right versions.
And this is absolutely crucial. Every part of your stack has to be on the right version, or they just won't work together. We're talking Node.js, the new pre-release of the compact compiler, and the pre-prod version of the proof server. A version mismatch here is probably the most common reason for failure, so getting this right from the get-go is going to save you a ton of headaches.
All right, let's keep building on that. Now that your tools are all updated, you've got to actually point your application to the new pre-prod network. This is literally how your DApp talks to the new blockchain.
So, this table here shows you the essential URLs you'll need to set up in your environment variables. You can really think of these as the lifelines connecting your DApp to the pre-prod blockchain. It's how you get data, request test tokens, and process your transactions. Let's just quickly break down what each one actually does.
The RPC node, well, that's your main gateway. It's like the main communication tower for your application. Anytime you send a transaction or need to check the current state of a contract, you're talking directly to this node.
Now, the indexer is really interesting. While the RPC node is busy handling live transactions, the indexer is more like a specialized search engine for the blockchain. It's what makes your app feel super fast and responsive, because it can pull historical data really efficiently without slowing down the main node.
And of course, there's the faucet. This is basically your starting point. It's just a simple web service that dishes out the free test currency you need to do, well, anything on the network, from deploying your first contract to paying for transaction fees. Okay, so our environment is now configured correctly. It's time to get our hands dirty and dive into the code itself. And just a heads up, this isn't just a simple version bump. Some key APIs and libraries have changed, so you'll have to make some direct updates to your source code. So your very first task in the code is to update your dependencies. That means completely uninstalling the old Midnight.js packages you were using and then installing the new pre-prod compatible versions. You'll also need to add a few brand new libraries that are built to handle the new separate token types in pre-prod. And here's a perfect example of a common change you're going to have to make in your client-side code. The method for fetching a contract state, for instance, has moved from the ledger object over to the contract object itself. So you'll have to hunt those down and refactor those calls.
Another really big update is the introduction of 3 totally distinct address types, and you'll see they're all prefixed with pre-prod. Your wallet will now have to manage separate addresses for your shielded private tokens, your unshielded public ones, and this new dust token, which is used only for transaction fees.
Yeah, it's really important to let this sink in. This is not some simple config switch. These are what we call breaking changes. You have to actively go into your existing code and make modifications to get it to work with all the new libraries and APIs. Okay, let's move on to one of the biggest new concepts you're going to have to get your head around: the generation and use of dust. This completely changes how you think about and handle transaction fees.
So here's how it works now. You don't get your fee tokens directly from the faucet anymore. Instead, you request a new token called tidy. Then, after registering your wallet, it will automatically, and kind of slowly, convert that tidy into dust. And it's the dust that you actually use to pay for transaction fees.
And a quick heads up here. You gotta be patient. After you hit up the faucet for tidy, it can take a couple of minutes for those tokens to actually land in your wallet.
Right, and this is so important. You have to plan for a waiting period. Once you get your tidy, your wallet needs time to actually produce the dust you need for that first transaction. You can't just get tidy and immediately try to deploy a contract. It won't work.
We are almost there, I promise. Before you go and hit npm start to run your application, let's just quickly run through a final checklist. This will help you avoid all those common, super frustrating errors.
Seriously, run through this quick list every single time. Is your local proof server actually running? Are your environment variables pointing to the right preprod URLs? Did you remember to get TID from the faucet? And most importantly, has your wallet had enough time to generate the dust to actually pay for the transaction you're about to send? Look, if you take away only one thing from this whole explainer, let it be this. If your transactions are failing and you have no idea why, the most likely culprit is an empty dust balance in your wallet. Always, always check your dust first.
And that's really it. Getting your dApp migrated is just the first step. This update isn't just about new infrastructure. It unlocks some incredibly powerful new features like shielded tokens and the groundwork for smart compliance. It really opens up a whole new frontier for your projects. So happy building!